12 News continues to ask Phoenix police for answers after a family claims officers shot and killed the wrong man while responding to a call.
This happened Monday around 6 p.m. near 75th Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road. 12 News journalist Jade Cunningham has been following this story for us. Jade?
Yeah, good evening. We have reached out and Phoenix police have told us there are no updates at this time. Now, yesterday, we spoke with Diaz's 19-year-old stepson who was inside the home at the time. He had just come back from the hospital. He tells me he wishes he could have done more to help save his dad.
19-year-old Damien is hurting physically and emotionally.
It really pisses me off that the people we called to help us are the ones that killed him.
Around 6 p.m. Monday, he was home when bullets started flying.
I had the misfortune of looking right down at my leg right when the bullet had hit. There's a net here to keep the babies out. I saw it go through the net and right into my foot.
Police have not confirmed the identity of the reported gunman, but the family's landlord says it was his 33-year-old son who suffers from mental health issues.
I rent the house to them. I'm the owner of the house, and we're friends. I talk with them a lot. We don't fully understand what happened. In these situations, you feel destroyed inside.
The gunfire stopped for a little bit, and that's because he had moved from the front to the back.
Once inside, Damien says he saw the man point the gun at his stepfather, 36-year-old Christian Diaz, who ultimately tackled him to shield his family.
And my uncle had helped my dad wrestle the gun out of his hand.
When Phoenix police arrived, they say an officer went to the open front door, saw a struggle, and fired, hitting, Damien says, the wrong man.
And I saw when the cop had shot my dad in the face, and I didn't know what to do. I just started screaming for him not to die. I started screaming at the police for shooting him. My little brother came in and he got on his knees and he shook him, he held him, but he was already dead.
A moment that brings immense guilt.
I kept thinking for the entire time that I was in the hospital, if there's something I could have done different, if all they were going to do was shoot him, it would have been better if we just handled it ourselves. Because we did handle it. He saved us, not the cops.
A moment Damien says he'd give anything to change.
He's not my biological father, but he did take me in at a young age. I felt like his kid, and I never got to call him my dad, but he did always feel like my dad, and I didn't get to tell him.
Obviously, a lot of heartache with that family. Phoenix police have not released the name of the officer involved. Damien and his family are asking that officer be held accountable for their actions. We do know that body cam footage showing critical incidents involving Phoenix police must be released about 2 weeks after that incident takes place. Tram, we have more on our website at 12news.com.
All right, Jade, thank you. So let's take a legal deep dive into this case. Criminal defense attorney Josh Colesrue joins us now. Clearly, the wrong person was shot. Even the landlord says his son has mental issues. And so in a situation like this, of course, DPS is investigating. What are they going to be looking at?
Boy, these cases are difficult. You have law enforcement who arrives. They're aware that there could be an active shooter, and they have to respond. And sometimes they just get it wrong, like they did here, and the consequences are devastating. So DPS gets involved in most officer-involved shootings because it's a conflict of interest, for example, for the Phoenix Police Department to investigate one of their own for a criminal charge. But they're going to be looking at whether or not the officer was justified in the shooting. So importantly, they're going to look at what's called the CAD recordings or CAD recordings to see what dispatch told the officer right before arriving. And that's really going to be able to tell us a lot about his motivation, the officer. What did he know exactly prior to coming into the home? And the standard is, what would a reasonable officer do in that situation?
Right, because, when he shows up at the front door and there's a big scuffle, how do you know what is happening and who's wrong, who's right? That's so hard to determine in a split second.
Yeah, another thing that's going to be important are the witness interviews and whether or not, who had a weapon at that point in time and was it in the line of sight of the officer. Because if the person who he shot did not have a firearm, it's going to be very difficult for him to assert some type of justification defense.
What about the families, right? Clearly, they are devastated and heartbroken. You know, what kind of actions can they take? And what about, getting maybe some body cam footage or what have you?
Well, there's certainly going to be a civil lawsuit coming out of this. They have 2 years from the incident to file it. But anybody can file what's called a Freedom of Information Act request and request the body cam footage and even the police reports in this case. Now, the police department, they weigh the interests of the public against ongoing investigations and redacting personal identifying information before disclosing that type of information. But generally speaking, the Phoenix Police Department likes to be pretty open about this kind of stuff.
And what about the officer? What could he face?
Well, worst case scenario in these types of cases, if charges are brought, he could be looking at a manslaughter charge.
All right, Josh, thank you so much.
Thank
Troy?
you.